Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the hidden code that runs our social media feeds. We're going to explore how these powerful algorithms aren't just shaping what you see, but maybe even what you end up believing.
So let's start with the question you've probably asked yourself while scrolling. How on earth does my feed know exactly what I want to see? How does it know what I might like? So what's the deal? Is it just magic? Or is there something more going on?
Well, the short answer is, it's not magic at all. It's totally by design. See, these platforms are built to learn from every single thing you do. Every click, every like, every share. Their main goal is to build an experience that's so perfectly tailored to you that you just can't look away.
And this whole thing, it actually has a name, the filter bubble. An activist named Eli Pariser came up with the term, and it describes how these prediction engines create this unique little universe of information just for you. But, this bubble idea, it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so a filter bubble might not sound so bad, right? But it can be the first step towards something way more insulated. And that's why we got to talk about the crucial difference between a bubble and an echo chamber. Yeah, check this out. Philosopher Ian makes this really sharp distinction. He says an epistemic bubble is kind of passive. It's when other viewpoints are just left out. You just don't happen to hear them. But an echo chamber, whoa, that's active. It's not just that you don't hear other views, it's that you're conditioned to actively distrust them.
And that active distrust, that's where things can get really serious. There's this thing called group polarization theory. And basically, it says that when you get a bunch of like-minded people together and you cut them off from outside opinions, their shared beliefs don't just stay put. Nope. They actually tend to get more and more extreme over time. So you see how this works? These digital spaces, which are built to keep us clicking, can actually create this path. A path from just being kind of curious about something to having a deeply held extreme conviction. It's what some people call the radicalization pipeline. And that brings us to the core idea for today. Algorithmic radicalization. The theory goes like this. The same algorithm that's smart enough to show you a new recipe or a hilarious cat video, well, that same algorithm might also be capable of leading you step by tiny step down a rabbit hole into some really extreme stuff.
And you know what supercharges this whole pipeline? The kind of stuff that just spreads like wildfire online. Get this. A 2018 study in the journal Science found that on Twitter, falsehoods are a staggering 70% more likely to be retweeted than the truth. So why is that? It's because our brains are just wired to pay attention to things that are new and emotional. And let's be honest, false news is often way more novel and emotional than the boring old truth.
Okay, so enough with the theory. What does this actually look like on the apps we scroll through every single day? Let's dive into the data and see how we actually group up online.
So, one of the key ingredients here is a concept from social science called homophily. It sounds complicated, but it's really just a fancy way of saying birds of a feather flock together. We're just naturally drawn to people who think and act like we do.
And these charts, wow, they're basically maps of our online social worlds. Every little dot is a person, and you can literally see it, right? On both Twitter and Facebook, people form these super dense, totally separate clusters. That is homophily visualized. It's all these little groups with almost nobody talking to the other groups.
What's really interesting is that the same study found this isn't the same everywhere. When they looked specifically at how we get our news, they saw way more segregation on Facebook than on a platform like Reddit. And that kind of makes sense, right? Reddit is more about topics and communities, not just your personal friend network. And when you talk about the power of the algorithm, you have to talk about YouTube. I mean, it's estimated that something like 70%, 70, of all the time people spend watching videos on that site comes from its recommendation system. Think about that. That is a massive, massive influence over what billions of people are watching every single day.
Which, of course, brings us to the big, controversial question at the center of all of this. Who's really in the driver's seat here? Is it us, the user, or is it the code?
This is the debate that researchers, journalists, and even the tech companies themselves are wrestling with. Are the algorithms making people more extreme? Or are they just giving people who are already looking for this stuff more of what they're looking for? And honestly, the evidence is, well, it's pretty complicated. Okay, so on one side of the argument, you've got evidence coming from inside the companies. This quote right here, it's from a leaked internal memo at Facebook, and for a lot of people, this is the smoking gun. It's them basically admitting, hey, our systems are built to keep people engaged, and it turns out really divisive, angry stuff is a great way to do that. But then, on the other hand, the academic research isn't so black and white. You've got multiple studies that looked specifically at YouTube and found very little proof of that rabbit hole effect we talked about. Their conclusion was basically that the algorithm isn't really pushing regular folks toward extreme content. It's mostly just serving it up to people who are already seeking it out.
Now, you can't talk about any of this without mentioning a huge piece of U.S. law called Section 230. To put it simply, it's what protects platforms from being sued over what their users post. It's the reason social media could grow so big, so fast. But critics say it also means there's no real financial reason for them to get super aggressive about taking down harmful stuff.
Okay, so this is obviously a really complex and high-stakes issue. So what do we do about it? What's the path forward? Well, one of the main ideas being floated right now is to go after the algorithms themselves.
Yeah, the big idea is to change Section 230. There are proposals out there, like the Justice Against Malicious Algorithms Act, and their goal isn't to hold platforms responsible for every single thing a user posts. No, the idea is to hold them responsible for the stuff their algorithms choose to promote and amplify. The thinking is pretty simple. If your code boosts it, you own it.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Think about it. The entire business model of social media is based on one thing: your attention. Their job is to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. So if an algorithm's #1 goal is to keep you engaged, and if outrage and anger are really, really good at keeping you engaged, can a system like that ever be truly unbiased? Can it ever be truly healthy for how we talk to each other? I mean, that really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it?